Sometimes the greatest feelings of accomplishment are sparked by triumph over struggle, frustration, and hopelessness.
When I cycle, it's up to me whether or not I accomplish my set goal, whether I keep pedaling or I quit. I can't imagine not having that control.
The questions I'm asking on this journey are not only about the many ways to communicate, but also about the many ways to listen.
There are people in our country who fight mental battles of loneliness daily and know the deepest meaning of frustration because they don't have a way to communicate. Often, many of these people don't have control over this, no matter how consistently they demonstrate their abilities. No matter how much they try, whether or not they get what they need to communicate is reliant on the people around them and the policies of their government.
The uncertainty I feel about whether or not I'm going to be able to reach the people I need to communicate with because of the unpredictability of cell phone and internet makes me very aware of the uncertainty CARE and others who communicate with AAC must feel on a regular basis as they go out into the world. Will there be communication and connection? Will there be acceptance and understanding? Will there be patience? Will there be attunement? Will there be success or disappointment?
3 years ago, my brother had a thought.
I tried to imagine myself cycling across Canada. There's no way, I told myself. I went out for road rides and couldn't get the idea out of my head. If I can do 180 kilometers today, there's no reason why I can't do 100 kilometers tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. There's still no way, I told myself. Through the years that I was in middle school and a junior in high school, my brother had an ongoing battle to get the education he deserved. One of his teachers took his communication device away because she thought the voice was annoying.
Sometimes new vocabulary would be programmed onto my Dynavox. I would go to school with a note for my teachers which explained the new programming, and asked them to work with me on using it. I later found out that the school considered these notes harassment. Whenever our family pushed for an improvement in my education, I seemed to suffer reprisals, forced to eat my lunch in a different room from other students, less time with my assistant, who had worked with me for years, and coldness from some of my teachers. I withdrew. I was bored and depressed. My assistant would come home in tears someday.
I was younger. I knew my brother had every right to communicate, and that people who I did not know were taking this right away from him by underestimating and refusing. I was filled with anger. I think this was the only time in my life where I've had pent-up hate for particular people. I hadn't even met these people, but I wondered, what had happened to them to make them so naive and uncaring? Biking and running have always been my main outlets for stress and anger. Not that I'm angry if you see me running. I've learned a lot since then. I still have many of the same thoughts. However, I now know that it's not as simple as certain people being cruel and narrow-minded, although there was a lot of cruelty and narrow-mindedness. The politics of a segregating system and disabling attitudes that people learn from others around them are the frameworks that discrimination is constructed from. Sometimes I like to talk about my problems. I think it's the healthy thing to do. The unfairness that my brother was experiencing became a battle with the Toronto District School Board that lasted many years. This battle consumed our family life. Ironically, we were talking about the situation all the time, yet I never talked about my anger or frustrations. I was sick of the situation. I wanted to tune it out. We were all stressed out and tense, Kara didn't seem happy, and arguments were arising between us. I hated these teachers, the principal, and everyone who made my brother's twice-a-day, 1-hour trek to and from Scarborough for school meaningless. I hated these people for ruining our family life.
The promised tailwinds that are supposed to assist Sky on his journey have been elusive. Tomorrow. They're supposed to blow tomorrow, just as yesterday they were supposed to blow today. It's a mental challenge waiting for these helpful tailwinds, yet getting back on the bike to pedal in the face of more headwinds. In so many ways, this is the story and the feel of Ker's life. The hope and promise of helpful tailwinds. The disappointment when instead he is met with headwinds. The funding that doesn't come through, the education that doesn't happen, the waiting lists that never seem to get shorter, the well-trained assistants that need to move on in their lives. How does Ker, and how do we with him, get back on the bike and keep pedaling?
I had left school. Our battle with the school board had transformed into a legal fight. I was no longer in jeopardy of being discriminated against and not having my needs met on a daily basis. Our family still had our stresses, but we were doing better. I was doing better too, and was volunteering at the Royal Ontario Museum and doing research at the Toronto Archives, giving presentations on human rights, and learning lots more with my assistants than I had learned in the toxic environment of my former school.
Biking and running were my emotional releases. At the end of high school, I was thinking much more positively. The cycling across Canada thought wouldn't leave my head. In grade 12, I made it final that I was taking a year off before university. This experience my brother endured for too long triggers spite in me that most people who know me can't believe I possess. I'm passionate in my belief that every person has a right to be included and to have a voice.
I would like people to be curious about who I am, what I think about, and what interests me. Just because I communicate differently does not mean I am that different from anyone else. Having my voice heard, being understood, and respected is just as important to me as it is to anyone else.
I wasn't sure how, but I was sure of who, why, what, and when. I was going to cycle across Canada to raise awareness about people who speak with augmentative and alternative communication, and to try to get values of inclusion and the presumption of ability in mainstream media.
I wanted to improve the lives of all Canadians who have disabilities, my focus being on those who are in similar situations to my own.
So far, everywhere we've been, there are funding issues which have an impact on the availability of AAC services, supports, and technology which enable and empower voice. Waiting lists for AAC assessments and services are an inevitability, yet I don't think I've ever met anyone who would say it's an acceptable situation to have to wait for weeks, months, or years to communicate. When we explain Kilometres for communication to people who don't know about AAC, they understand the importance of communication right away. Some of them have even become passionate and committed volunteers, and others have donated generously. We're inspired by the spirit of community collaboration and generosity, and the synergy that results. We're also inspired by the many emails we're getting from people who cannot get the AAC assistance they need, and those for whom AAC has opened up not just their communication, but their lives. While AAC is a provincial issue, the public education has to be done locally and nationally, and we can build on each other's experience. For us, the networking is inspirational. The people who speak with AAC, their families, friends, dedicated and supportive professionals keep us all pedaling. Together, in community, we need to continue to educate and advocate, and perhaps to convert some of those headwinds into tailwinds.
I hadn't thought much about fundraising at this point, nor had I thought much about advocating for new policy. I knew that I needed my brother's help. I knew that my mom would be a powerful force in the campaign. I knew my dad would be behind us and willing to make any sacrifice to make it happen. I talked to my friends, family, and network. Slowly, Kilometres for communication took shape.
That was 3 years ago. Tomorrow my brother finishes his battle across Canada. All the rain, wind, hills, mountains, blisters, sores, thirst, fatigue, and flat tires behind him.
By no means is this journey to empower voices or prevent what happened to care from happening to others over. However, it does feel that years of emotion, planning, months of giving everything I have, the stories from all the people we've met, are manifesting. I haven't finished yet, but I know that when I do, I will know a new feeling. Today was one of the toughest days mentally of the trip. I felt so close to finishing, yet I knew that I wasn't finishing today, that I'd have to wake up again tomorrow and do it one more time. I went through each day of the trip. I tried to go through each road I took, the weather, and the people I met. I had shudders thinking about my days in the prairies, and the days of rain in northern Ontario. That, in combination with thinking of the memories from the last decade, the last 3 years of planning, and the training 3 hours a day, 6 days a week, got me through today. At one point today, I was quite high up on a section of the Trans-Canada, going from the mainland along a channel of land to the Avalon Peninsula. The sky was blue. I could see thick cloud in the valley below me, which I was about to descend into. It really was an epic view, being above the dense clouds and seeing the ocean outlined by misty mountains fading into blue on my right and left. Someone down in that valley probably is wondering where the beautiful day went. They might even think it's going to rain. I descended into the valley. I lost my view of the ocean. The clouds weren't dark or threatening from below. They were even more spectacular. The light reflected off the afternoon fog in a magical way that I had never seen before.
Our journey sent an implicit message to everyone who speaks in different ways. Not only that you deserve to communicate, but that you deserve to be treated in the same way anyone else is treated. You deserve to participate, you deserve to be respected and valued, and you are important.
Life has a way of hiding its extraordinary beauty from those who are afraid to venture.
I cycled by an exit to a place called Mosquito Cove. My first thought was, why build a road to such a wretched place?
Maybe some people have discovered a gem which they want to keep polished. Perhaps Mosquito Cove is simply a deterring name to keep the tourist traffic away. There's always another perspective to be taken.
There's always another perspective.
There's always another perspective.